Well, I haven't seen that. I mean, there are a lot of customs which developed later.
Candle. Yeah.
Come on, you sit down now. I knew we'll take your dinner out there under the trees. We'll have an hour's recess, give you a gourd full of water to wash your dinner down with. Now, when the weather's bad, we'll sit around the fire. So you be ready for the story. So, would you be good enough to do the dusting for us? Yes, ma'am, will be fine. I'll go out there. All right, let's see, Sarah Mary.
That's all I'm doing. I got Marie along by her second
You folks are thinking about settling close by here. I just want to please make up whatever you need in the way
What's he pulling
of doing for you. Most things made out of iron wind up passing through this shop a time or two. They go by and don't break a chain or dull some up to where it needs to be sharpened. You folks might be thinking, why don't I just fold this piece over in the vise? I don't want all this hammers on it. I am burning coal in this fire here. It's coal that comes out of the ground, comes all the way from Virginia. However, in the evening shop does have to be imported. Coal from Virginia or sometimes Pennsylvania, depends what they have at Cincinnati. Sometimes they'll be burning charcoal. I have folks make it up now and then. It's made out of clay, probably to start with. They pack these full of charcoal, I guess. And they heat the whole thing up to iron, charcoal, and all for several days. The carbon from the charcoal will go into the iron and turn it into steel.
That's right. We were waiting for you.
Ms. Madison, how will you relate the American Studies experience?
Well, there are a number of ways that I would like to relate the American Studies experience with my students, but the major thing that I focus upon would be the fact that this is the way our people have lived in early years, and we've talked about this in class. I've read about it, but I've never had a chance to just role play and do what you might say an experience where I could put myself into a real setting. And I would like to let my students know what it's like to be in a real setting, and possibly one day I could bring them on a field trip in the area and let them live in a real setting like this, see how their culture has developed over the years on the land.
And here at Decana Prairie, of course, they live very close to the land, and
Right.
it gives you a real experience.
You're exactly right, and this is what we need. We need more real experiences within our classroom to help our students understand what our culture has been like and how our culture has changed over the years and why it has changed.
To help you going through this experience to understand it, to give you a better understanding.
It definitely has given me a better understanding just today because here we are without the facilities that we normally have at home, and this is the way the people lived in earlier years, and we never think about how they had to adjust well to the various ways of life. And right now, I'm dressed in a costume, which is the type of clothing that they wore, and I understand we're going to do some preparing meals, the way they prepared meals. And you can relate this to your students in a sense from reading about it, but you can always relate better if you've lived through the experience yourself. And this is what we're doing now.
Now, back to the overall American Studies program. Let's go into it in some depth. What are you getting from this?
Well, from the overall American Studies program, I'm getting an in-depth study of how to relate the art, cultural, and musical development of our nation to my students. We have focused upon this prior to this program, but we have not gone in in-depth study. And we would like to go into an in-depth study and let our students see how beautiful our country has developed along that lines of music, art, literature, and other phases of development.
Oh, no. Some people.
Betty and I did, and Betty's from North Carolina, we're supposed to do things like this.
A stereotype.
Isn't that just like a man walking the door to nothing?
Not lighting the
We found a use for this. What about school today? How did that go? Betty got in trouble. Betty, and mouthed off to Miss Finch.
David.
I really shut out.
Well, we're gonna cook them.
And it's gonna be first bowl beans. We're gonna cook the ones twice as filthy when I'm done. That was my bean.
Well, now you know why they call them
All right, let's sing one of those. Can you nap beans?
Or the ABC.
The vowel song.
Yeah. How does it?
B A B E B B I bye bibble B O O bye bo boo.
Just push through.
You know you were going to be the star.
Wayne King, you teach in Baltimore schools.
Yes, I teach at Lake Clifton High School in Baltimore City. I teach 11th grade U.S. history. I've been at Lake Clifton for 4 years and very interested in this new American Studies program.
Do you find this experience at Prairie unique?
I find it unique. You know, in Virginia we have Williamsburg, and I've never experienced living in a village that was set up in 1836, a living museum. So it is unique. We've been for 3 weeks talking about history and American culture, dealing with the problems of American history, the technology, the landscape, and here we are now trying to get some experience and some imagination about what it was like in 1836.
They make it easy, don't they? Just as though they take you back to the period.
They do, and especially the interpreters, the people who are here to explain things to you, the characters that they play. Very quickly you get into the period and begin asking them questions and begin thinking that you're part of that. That's what I found to be the most valuable experience, talking to the different levels of the society, from the farmer to the people who are in Mr. Connor's house, and the person who's weaving, especially I like the blacksmith, actually working something, making something.
They never get out of character.
No, they don't. That is what I think makes a living museum most important. It's impossible to go back in time, but with your imagination, I think that you can, in some sense, get a sense of the time and try to feel that you're there, and how did these people feel at this time, and what is it like living in a cabin instead of a duplex?
Are you pleased with the way the whole American Studies program is structured?
Yes, in fact, this has been the most important experience I've had since I became a teacher, which was 13 years ago. The 26 or 27 teachers that we have here from all east of the Mississippi are probably the best teachers that I've ever been with. We live close together. We've been talking education and U.S. history and American literature, American culture for several weeks, and I think we all feel it's a very important experience.
How is this going to make you a better teacher and make you turn out better students?
Well, what American Studies is attempting to do is come up with a program that allows the students to see the interconnections in the different disciplines, to show the interconnection between, say, the novels of Hemingway and history of World War I and of the 20s. So the approach is, what I'm doing myself is sort of restructuring the way that I look at U.S. history. The approach is to not only use the historical documents, but to use the poetry, the literature of the time, the paintings of the time, to illuminate history, to try to crystallize a certain concept. American Studies is very concerned, in my opinion, and should be, with themes. The themes of the landscape and how the landscape has changed. We're in a landscape which was 1836, and this was frontier. Now the frontier is gone, and our landscape is now an urban landscape. And to give the students some sense of this change, at the same time give them a sense of the continuity within that change in American history. I think American Studies has one thing to offer, and that is that a student that goes through an American Studies program will have a better sense of what really is American culture, so that when they experience changes in the society, they can evaluate those changes against not only what is changing, but also what has remained the same, and therefore become a better citizen, a better person for it.
I want to get those tongs and my topsiders in this shot.
There's one that shows Connor's town. And any idea what that is? Connorsville, he laid out Noblesville, another man that very well. 1937, they have a newspaper there.
Dan, is this experience at Prairie and the American Studies program something that you can relate to your students when you return to Addison?
Oh, certainly. I've been teaching American Studies for a number of years now, and I think any time that a teacher can have this kind of experience for him or herself really can, I hope, make this kind of thing alive for the students. Just sharing that, it'd be really special if we could bring kids here and have them use the kinds of tools and do the cooking and things like that, do the spinning. But it's not possible to bring, for example, 120 students that I might have next year to do this. But if I can relate something like that and kind of get across the appreciation for the people who came and did this kind of work, I think it'll be really useful and valuable to those students.
As a teacher of American history, does this strike you as being right?
You mean this settlement?
Right, correct.
Oh, yeah. from what I've studied and seen in Illinois, we have a similar place where Abe Lincoln lived, New Salem Village, and in a way, this may be more typical. In that there, it seemed like there is a central street, and I'm not sure that people, when they came to the Prairie, built their houses and thought out a central plan. And this seems to be almost, in a sense, a haphazard. As people came, they built. And the whole village is kind of, in a sense, haphazard, centered around what is obviously an important person's house. And so many of the things, the wood pegs and the hinges on the wall, lots of different things that seem to be very authentic and real.
Do your students in Illinois reflect a sincere interest in the history of their country and a pride in their country as it was and is?
I think it's growing. I think that when I began teaching, there was less concern, less interest in that kind of thing. But I think there is some increasing interest. I think the bicentennial helped some. Students kind of got caught up in that to some degree. They learned more about it. And I think they do demonstrate more concern and some more pride for their country and where it's going.
You know what I think? I think it's teachers like you and the group that I've seen here and have talked with that have shown really an unbridled enthusiasm, and I think this is what you convey to your students.
Well, thank you for the compliment. I think that there is at least some research that shows that good teachers can do a lot to help students develop and progress. And obviously the people who have come to this thing, who have taken some time out of their own summers, are special people. They really are.
Yes, and they're a very select group in that they were selected by their peers, is that correct? And their administrators to come. There was one from a state?
Yes, one teacher per state, along with 2 other people that will be coming for our 5th week, an administrator or a state consultant and a university person. So I think we've got lots of different kinds of good input that can help us develop programs that will help people, help people and help the students that we're going to be going back to.
Oh, tell somebody to fix up a bowl of salt. Well, yep. You should have seen the ones I fished out before I put the beans in. Much.
You ladies want to put some salt in a bowl that we can take out and set on the table?
And there's pepper in there in those little spice boxes on the bottom.
Hi, Hester. Looks like a success. You've been doing that all your life.
Yeah, we're proud of them.
I want to be thankful for this.
Figuring that another hour, I'm not going to know
If
it.
you're a church member, if you were a devout person, you would.
That's right. There's no church in this village.
Well, wait, we have to say,
Well, then say
we
it.
just had that dispute.
Oh.
We just said it was no church.
Amen, women are much
We
more,
could say grace.
women are much more pious. Women are much more pious than males.
Did the women eat first?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
If you get beyond 20, your life expectancy, well, life expectancy may have added 10 years. Not often. Nobody's really worked very well.
And bought it serious.
Is that?
We have my rear end right on the camera in the middle.
With what?
Yes, big spoon. I'll get one of these short. Over here?
Yes, was. Luke was actually pushing for it.
But I first started working here, my husband but he's been out here a lot.
You girls did a good job. I can't wait till breakfast.
So, you know.
Carry water.
And you're really,
time again.
Marriage time!
Seems like only yesterday I held her arm.
Morning, Senate. We are here assembled together in the sight of God and in the presence of these witnesses to join together this man and this woman in the holy state of matrimony, which is an institution of God and honorable among men, and therefore not to be entered into unadvisedly, heedlessly, or carelessly, but reverently. Come now to be joined. If anyone can show just cause why they may not be lawfully joined together in wedlock, let him now declare it, or forever after hold his peace. Do you, Francis J. Roberts, acknowledge before God and this assembly that you have taken and do now take this woman, whom you hold by the hand, to be your lawful wife, promising never to forsake her, faithfully to love, honor, and maintain her in health and sickness, to forsake all others and keep faith and truth to her in all things as a faithful husband, as long as you both shall live? Have taken and do now take this man whom you hold by the hand to be your lawful husband, promising never to forsake him, faithfully to love, honor, and assist him in health and in sickness, to forsake all others and keep faith and truth to him in all things as a faithful wife, as long as you both shall live? For as much as you, Francis Roberts and Wynell Burroughs, have consented to be united in holy wedlock, and have witnessed the same before God and this assembly, and thereto have mutually given and pledged your faith, each to the other, I do, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of Indiana, pronounce that you are husband and wife. Congratulations, you may kiss your bride.
Only tools and hardware in here, and generally be working with iron. But when it comes time to make something like an axe or a chisel or an auger bit or any sort of thing that's got to stay its shape like a spring or hold a keen edge, for that you got to use steel. I get my iron from Pittsburgh. I get my steel from the Girard brothers. We have a rolling mill in Cincinnati on Canal Street. They make up what's called blister steel. I find it being right convenient to be so close to Cincinnati to being able to buy some of it. Formerly, my steel had to come all the way from Sheffield, England. Now, this piece I'm working on here is a hasp, which is a piece of hardware, of course, and that sort of thing doesn't have to be steel at all. It should be iron, because anything's got to be out in the weather. At best be made out of iron. For one reason is it won't rust away nearly as fast. One folks are most worried about around here is price. Iron costs me about 8 cents a pound, whereas steel costs me 20. Folks don't like to be paying for anything more than they absolutely have to. Now, even when I be making up something like an axe, which has got to hold a pretty good edge, most of that axe will be made out of iron. I'll be welding a piece of steel onto the cutting edge. And the better part of the body of it will still be made out of iron. There's about 3 tools that a blacksmith's got to have. Those 3 tools, of course, be a hammer, an anvil, of course, got to have a forge fire. Starting out with those 3 tools, anybody calls himself a blacksmith should be able to make up any of the tools he'd need thereafter. I can work this iron as long as it's got a good bright heat to it. Once it loses that, can't be working it much farther without breaking it. I'd rather not be breaking any more pieces than I absolutely have to.
Now, young'uns, where have you been this morning? It's getting on near midday and you're just now dragging in. I don't know whether to call you late for today or early for tomorrow. Now, we got a lot to do and not much time to do it in, so you best be getting in here. All right, now, young'uns, I hate to talk to you about money on the first day of school, but I hope you realize by being this late you've done 3 bad things already today. You've wasted my time, you've wasted your own time, and worse than either one of those, you've wasted your ma and pa's good money. Now, you know they're paying 3 cents a day for every one of you to be at school. And I expect you to be here on time. Now, what time did your ma tell you to be at school? Do you remember? 7 o'clock this morning. Now, I expect you on time from now on. Now, you know we've only got 3 months out of the year to get our learning, from the 1st of November to the last of January. That's after the harvest, before you start tapping the maple trees and things, and your folks don't need you at home as much. So I expect you here on time to get your money's worth. Now, Hester, last year your ma made the flag for the school marm. Now, I appreciate that. It brightens up schoolroom, helps with the geography and all. Now, I know she sews well, and I'll be needing some new shirts this year. I know your pa makes boots. I'll be needing a new pair of boots. Now, I'll take just about anything in trade for that 3 cents a day. I realize how hard cash is to come by. So I'll take furs, butter, eggs, chickens, just about anything I'd want, anything anybody else would want. Store credit down at Mr. Whitaker's would be right nice. Now, Orly, do you snore? Well, you better get used to it because I do. And I'll be boarding out with your families from time to time. Week at a time for each one of you. And you might tell your mom awful partial to apple pie. All right, young lady? Now, one thing we better get straight right off the bat here. When I come in this schoolroom, you know you're supposed to use respect, don't you, young lady? And when I ask you a question, you've got 3 answers you can use. Yes, sir, Mr. Jennings. No, sir, Mr. Jennings. And I don't know, Mr. Jennings. Now, do you understand that? Yes, sir, Mr. Jennings? That's good. Now, we better get on with our learning. Did you bring your Bibles in with you today? Did all you students bring your Bibles in with you? Well, that's good, scholars. Those of you that brought them in, I'm proud of you. And those of you that didn't, are going to have to remember to bring those in. Now, we don't have enough books to go around. We've got a few Bibles, some copy books that I've made, some horn books. Other than that, we don't have anything except in the board. So I take the few books that I've got for teaching and put the lessons up here on the board, and you have to learn it. Now, you know this is a loud school. Say your lessons out loud where I can hear you. I want to know what you're thinking, and I want you thinking about your lessons. Now, you're in the schoolhouse from 7 o'clock in the morning till sundown, 6 days a week. And this year, since Christmas falls during midweek, we'll be having a full day of school Christmas Day. And Shadrach, I don't want none of your tricks this year like we had last year. Now, I expect to get here and find that door open when I get here. Last year, school marm was locked out. If I get here this year and I'm locked out, first thing I'll do is set down the treats I'm bringing in for all of you. Then I'll get up on the roof, put a board over the chimney, and smoke you out of here. Then you and I will have to go out behind the schoolhouse, have a little private discussion on the matter. And you're not going to feel like sitting down when we come back in. You understand me, young man? You know, that's good. Now, those of you that can read, I want you to read along with me up here. Young'uns, you help out the older ones. You know we got young'uns anywhere from 5 to 20 in here. And you older ones, it's not your fault that you can't read nor write or cipher. You've been someplace where there wasn't any school, or your mom and pa couldn't afford it or didn't think it was important. But you're here now, and I want you getting your learning, boys and girls alike. You understand me? That's good. Now, those of you that can read, read with me. Wisdom is greater than riches. Proverbs. Now, your mom and pa is going to be right happy that I'm teaching you a Bible verse every day. We'll be learning 1 a day, and on Saturday, we'll review the 5 we've learned during the week. Of course, you get the Sabbath off to worship as you choose. Now, when you go to read, you have to know these letters here. These are your vowels, A, E, I, O, and U. And these are your consonants, all the other letters of the alphabet. Now, you put them together, you got a syllable or a sound. And that's how you learn to read. That's all there is to reading. Just find the syllables in the words, sound them out to yourself, and you recognize the word when you read it. So as soon as you can do that, you can start learning to read. Now, when you don't have no books, it's a lot easier to learn things if you learn it in a rhyme or a song. So, I have a little song goes with this. Now, I'll sing it to you once, and I want you to sing it right back to me. Those of you who've been in school before, I'm sure you've heard it. B-A bay, B-E-B, B-I biddy bye, B-O bo biddy bye bo, B-U boo biddy bye bo boo, A-E-I-O-U. Now I want everybody in the schoolroom to sing that with me. B-A bay, B-E-B, B-I biddy bye, B-O bo biddy bye bo, B-U boo biddy bye bo boo, A-E-I-O-U. That's right, good. Now Hester, do you know how many states we have in the Union? 25, that's right. 25 states in the Union. Now the last state inducted in the Union, you know, was Arkansas on July 4th. I'm sure you all remembered that. Now when we learn our geography, we're going to learn the state, the capital of the state, and the body of water that capital is located on. Now you need a body of water in each big city so you can get your trade goods in and out and get your people in and out. Now, Indianapolis has a problem. The West Fork of White River is awful shallow. It's good for canoes, but not much else except in flood time. And flood time's not long enough for us to have any good trade out of it. So what we're going to do, Mr. Connor's pushing for it, we're trying to get a canal dug to deep water. You understand that? All right, now, we're going to sing this geography lesson. I want you to sing with me. You ready? Kentucky, Frankfort on the Kentucky River. Kentucky, Frankfort on the Kentucky River. Ohio, Columbus on the Scioto River. Ohio, Columbus on the Scioto River. Illinois, Vandalia on the Kaskaskia River. Illinois, Vandalia on the Kaskaskia River. Indiana, Indianapolis on the West Fork of White River. Indiana, Indianapolis on the West Fork of White River. That's right. Now the good Lord gave you all two hands, and I want to see them. We're going to cipher on our fingers on this ciphering lesson, so I know you're understanding your numbers and you're not just reading along with me. So let me see your hands. Raise your hands up. Get your hands up back there, young man. Now, everybody reads with me and ciphers on your fingers. Twice one, R2. This book is something new. Twice 2 R4, pray hasten on before. Twice 3 R6. Now that's all on one hand, one on the other, Shadrach. That's good. You're always playing tricks. That's right, good. I think you're all starting to get some learning. Now I think it's time we did some recitation. Now, you two young'uns here, one of you, now I want you to do your ciphering lesson, and I want you to say your alphabet.
Making small egg bowls here today. Weigh 1.5 pounds. By weighing them up like that, well, I can keep them all about the same. I ain't got your neighbor running down here complaining. You got a bigger one than she did. I'm going to center this clay up first. Reckon you folks met the Widder Brooker, didn't you? Up on the hill. Son Ethan's getting married here soon. 21st, Tuesday. All you gotta do next is get rid of Abigail. She's working on her about 14th quilt. She still ain't spoken for yet. So that tells you something about her. She's gonna have to look beyond this village probably to find her a man. This bowl ain't gonna be much count. It's got air in it. Get that shaped up from potter's rib a bit. Sell these for right around 7.5 cents a piece by the dozen wholesale. Don't do much selling down here. Way we don't have to jaw with all the women folk and argue about the prices and all. Just sell to Whitakers and 3 or 4 storekeeps in Indianapolis, a couple in Noblesville town. Tend to get hard coin for it rather than barter by doing that. Get this shaped up with my leather. I want you going to clean this out and cutting your hand on it. Just smooth it up proper. Mighty important on a drinking vessel, something you be sticking your mouth up to. You go to stick your mouth up there and cut it. Ain't gonna say much for our wares. You probably ain't gonna buy any more of them. Just want to make sure you get it nice and smooth there. And tomorrow we'll clean this bottom up, put the Baker Pottery touch mark on it so you folks know where it came from. If you like it, well, you can tell your neighbor and she might be able to pick up one.
Okay.
Morning, Isaac.
Morning, Mr. Baker.
Good to see you working on those egg bowls already.
Yeah.
Having a bit of problem though, ain't you?
I reckon. Just a bit of air in there.
Well,
Didn't wedge it up proper.
A bit more moisture in the air too than you was counting on.
Yeah.
Looks
Just
a
like
bit
opening that
soft.
up so wide on them egg bowls.
You know, I got an order for 3 dozen of those.
Well, I'll be getting them done today. Oh, yeah. If I can get off here.
Well, let's try to make them just a bit tighter than that one. Rim's just a bit wobbly.
Just want me to talk about working for the Connors. You acquainted with Mr. Connor? Met him in your doings around the place? Ain't no better feller to work for. Pays me $1 a week, get my room and board. My room's right up over there. Of course, it's getting right crowded now. What with drying beans and squash and stuff, I keep it up there. 'Cause see, this chimney right here goes right up through my room, so it stays nice and warm all year round, summer included. Making Mr. Connor's favorite today. You men folks like lemon pie? Well, Mr. Connor brought some home yesterday. Ain't too often that we do it. Get these eggs all beat up here. Had my lemons soaking in sugar for about, since breakfast this morning. And well, these pies don't take no spices, but now let's see here. Mr. Connor, if and I ever need anything, all I have to do is say it. Mr. Connor, I'm getting right low on cinnamon or getting right low on sugar. And right then he's got it there for me. He just, with them stores, you know, he has up to Noblesville and down to Indianapolis. Don't have any trouble getting things. Of course, got a big family to feed. You didn't know they had a new baby this spring? Born in June. Second little girl. Mr. Connor, he was as pleased as punch when she was born. After 5 boys, you know, I think he was right happy to have a little girl. Named her Catherine. But when you're feeding 5 boys, Mr. and Miss Connor, and of course all them ladies that come and say they just come visiting but been staying for months now, you know.